Today, we're going to dive into this timeless story. It's about a king, a farmer, and a single choice. A choice that really gets to the heart of what makes a sacrifice actually mean something. It's this incredible story of reckless pride versus deep, genuine repentance. And it all kicks off with just a massive mistake. It all begins with this number, 70,000. That's how many people died because of one king's decision. And this wasn't from a war or some natural disaster. No, this was a catastrophe born from vanity. So how on earth did one man's ego lead to so much devastation? The king we're talking about was David. And his mistake, it wasn't some political misstep or a bad military call. To really get what happened, we've got to look at an error of the heart. So, the whole problem started with a census. But here's the thing. This wasn't for taxes or planning, and it wasn't something God asked for. It was a totally unnecessary act driven by pure vanity. David wanted to count his fighting men, to really feel his own strength, to put a number on his power. It was all about pride with zero divine guidance. And the fallout? It was immediate, and it was horrifying. A plague just ripped through the land of Israel. And those 70,000 deaths we started with? That was the direct price of the king's pride. His personal need for validation led directly to his people's suffering. But then, right when the destruction is at its absolute peak, the story takes a huge, dramatic turn. In a single moment, divine justice and mercy collide at one very specific place. Picture this: an angel of destruction, sword drawn, is hovering over the capital city, Jerusalem. But just as the city is about to be annihilated, God steps in and says, "Enough, stay your hand." And the angel freezes, right there at a threshing floor, basically a simple spot for processing grain, owned by a man named Ornan. You gotta remember this location, it becomes the key to this whole story. When David sees this terrifying vision, his reaction is instant. All that pride? It's just gone. No excuses. He and the elders, they just fall on their faces, wearing sackcloth, the ultimate sign of mourning. And he cries out, saying, "I am the one who sinned, but these sheep, what have they done?" He takes full ownership, begging for the punishment to fall on him and his family, not on his people. So this moment of crisis, it brings us right to the heart of the matter. This incredible contrast between two men, showing us two totally different ways to think about what an offering is. So David goes to Ornan, right? He needs to buy this land to build an altar. And Ornan's response is just, wow. He offers him everything for free. Not just the land, but the oxen for the sacrifice, the wooden threshing tools for firewood, even the wheat for the offering. He basically says, "I give it all." I mean, he is the picture of pure generosity. But David, the man who's repenting, refuses. He insists on paying for it. You might be wondering, why refuse such a generous gift? A gift given from the heart? Well, David's answer gets to the absolute core of what a true sacrifice is all about. And here it is, the principle in David's own words. "I will not take what is yours for the Lord, or sacrifice a burnt offering that cost me nothing." For David, an offering that didn't have a personal cost was just meaningless. It wouldn't really be a sacrifice, would it? It'd just be going through the motions. So the story really leaves us with these two powerful examples to follow. On the one hand, you've got Ornan's attitude. Be humble, be generous, be willing to give everything you have with an open hand. And then there's David's perspective. You have to understand that for an offering to really be meaningful, it has to cost you something personally. It's not about the dollar amount, it's about the personal investment. But the story doesn't stop there. That piece of land, Ornan's threshing floor, is now soaked in a history of repentance, of mercy, and of costly sacrifice. It was bought and paid for, not just taken. And its significance was about to be sealed forever. That exact spot, the one that David purchased in his moment of deep repentance, is where his son, Solomon, would eventually build the great temple, the very center of worship in Jerusalem. So the foundation of that incredibly holy place wasn't just built on rock and dirt. It was built on an act of costly, meaningful sacrifice. So in the end, we're left with two models. Ornan's incredible, open-handed generosity
and David's costly integrity. And that kind of brings it all back to us, doesn't it? It leaves us with a really big question to think about. In our own lives, when we give, whether it's our time, our money, or ourselves, are we just handing over something we have extra of, or are we offering something that truly costs us? And which one of those really holds more weight?